Oh, Judy.
Okay, all good.
Yep.
I've been trying to get back to you about that thing you asked me about. Oh, there's a pin here, but I'll tell you what I found out. Hi. Kind of fight.
But I'm hoping the other guy.
Judy's here, we can start.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Was I holding you up?
No, it's
Okay.
actually the right time.
Okay.
Ready?
We're ready. I call to order a regular city council meeting on this Monday, April 14th, 2025 at 5:30 PM. Could we stand for the pledge to our flag? Councilor Baber.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yes, sir.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Miller,
Here.
Counselor Proctor,
Present.
Counselor Baber,
Here.
Counselor Lakeland. Here. Mayor, you have a quorum.
First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion to approve. the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Lakeland. Aye. Counselor Baber,
Aye.
Counselor Miller.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is item number 5. That's approval of the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Counselor Baber,
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Lakeland. Aye. Counselor Proctor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item is public comments. Do we have any residents of the city of Red Oaks Downs want to address the governing body? Okay. Councilors. Item number 7, councilors' comments. Counselor Miller.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that we'll have the Easter egg hunt this Saturday up here in the All-American Park. I didn't bring a flyer. You have one? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, she has some flyers if anybody wants one. And it'll be a little bit of a change since we have to rearrange things to fit in this park, but they all think it'll work fine. And we'll be there at 11 o'clock Saturday morning. We'll be there before because we've got to hide eggs and do all this other stuff. But we'll have the signs up possibly tomorrow. And I hope it'll be a good one. It looks like it will. Would you?
Just add on that, for those of you who don't know already, it's been switched from Riverside to All American Park.
Yeah. That's what I meant. I don't know if I got it straight, but it'll be fun. We have a beautiful park here, thanks to our director. He's not here tonight, and the crew for Public Works. We have a beautiful park, a lot of parking, and hopefully we'll have an Easter rabbit. I'm still looking. I got one. Okay. It'll be fun, all ages. Except the kids get to hunt the eggs.
Yeah, the councilors want to address the governing body. Yes, council.
On this certified mail that a lot of people got on this UWS air curtain facility. I've never seen one in action. I've read about them. I don't know anything about them. Don, do you know anything about this? Is it state, does the state issue the permit for it, or does it come to us?
The state issues.
So we're out of it. We can't say we want it or don't want it, regardless of the quality of air it's gonna produce.
I went and took the little class that they put on for it and everything like that. So I know how it operates and all of that, back when they fired it up. So, it's been running for several months now.
Have they already got the state permit?
Yep.
I guess that answers my question.
I have a question. Is it in the county?
It's right down here on the turn.
It's,
It's for
It's in the
Sierra
city
contract.
it's in the city limits. Oh,
Yeah. it's that.
and they didn't run that by us?
Yeah, I was fixing to say, how come it didn't have to come by us, John?
I don't know. Only thing that was this for we had a planning and zoning meeting regarding placement of the park.
This was an incinerator that people just started getting these deals March 25th.
I didn't.
Dr. Lacewell, is yours to address this topic? Go ahead.
So I talked to Reagan Vaughn, and she's a local representative of that company. And when I talked to her, she had an engineer in the car, and they said that they would send me some more information, and when I get it, I'll pass it on to the counselors.
Yeah, if the, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if the state's already approved it, it's not gonna do any good for us to kick the can down the road. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. We just been popped out of it.
Is it because they went around us or?
No, not that I know of. I can't find anything on it. That's why I was asking the attorney.
I have no knowledge of it other than getting this today.
So they just slid an incinerator in and nobody knows about it?
Bend over, honey, here it comes. Basically what happened to the city.
UWS.
Sierra, the old Sierra.
Right down there where all the logs are stacked up down there on the turn.
No.
Right now,
No, right beside Circle B.
I still have the floor, I do believe, Tanner Irons at one time was going to get an incinerator, and he'd made comment to our public works director. And, public works director got a hold of me, and that's when I thought about it, and I couldn't say anything because I don't think about it. So I've done some read up on them and stuff like that. Seems like they have 2 or 3 different kind, but Tanner Irons decided not to do that, and he went to Tennessee to pick up a commercial grade chipper, and he's gonna chip all of his logs and sell the chips to the racetrack, to the horsemen. That's what's been told to me.
Council Miller, you have something?
I just wondered why some people got the notice like that and others didn't.
I had people come to the feed store and showed me, that's how I knew about it.
Well, I know
This one,
a person in Ruidoso that got it.
Yeah.
But we're closer to it.
Miss Lucero was the first one to call me.
Uh-huh.
People in the county got it.
People in the county did.
Yeah, but we didn't.
I got one.
You got one? You're the only one I've heard of in Ruidoso Downs.
Yeah.
'Cause
My guess is that Counselor Proctor is correct when he listening close to the statement of, he said, we can say something about it, but it probably won't do any good. And that is probably an accurate statement, I would think, would be my guess. If it's anything, for instance, like the cold water fishery, the river, yeah, well, the river runs close to us and the village. But we kind of don't run the show on that river a lot of the time.
So according to this, it's subject to the New Mexico Environment Department and their licensing. So
they can just put one in your town and not tell you or ask you about it?
evidently I could contact them tomorrow and see how this came about. So I know when the fellow was over in the county and was putting in that, batch plant concrete, and the county had a hearing on that, and that was up to the environmental department also. And of course, a group of people got together and sued to get a restraining order against him, that lost that. So at the end of the day, I believe it's a state determination.
Treatment plant was the same way. And there were some counselors when the state was looking for input with that, but what it amount to, that was gonna happen and we were gonna pay for it. Which involved an awful lot of money, even more than the museum. Counselor.
You too. I got some.
Okay, yes, sir.
Y'all have all been coming down asking me about this water deal and everything, and the closest I can come to it is telling you is the city is selling water by the truckloads and we're on water restriction. Don't know how that works, but that's where we're at.
Yes, Counselor Lacewell.
Thank you, sir. Right when I was leaving my home, we have really low water pressure right this minute. And then as I was passing Palo Verde Drive, I saw water running down the street. And do you know if there's any kind of repair happening right now to fix that? There's some kind of breach and water's escaping.
And part of that question I didn't hear.
The water that's running, I don't have pressure at my house. There's active water running down Palo Verde Drive to Harris. And I saw people up there, but I was wondering if that's the city working on something or do you know?
We're really, of all times, we really need the Public Works Director here. All of the questions are pertaining to his. Yes, ma'am.
So I was out in the area today and I did notice that they were spraying down the streets that are not paved yet. So that might be.
This is not
part of
that.
it.
Yeah,
This is
no,
water
That's what I
escaping.
saw.
no, she's talking about something different. Yeah. There's not a problem, I don't think, with anybody that would have object to watering down where they're grading and
That's
putting a bare road down. So I don't know, we'd have to check on, fire chief. Is there anything on the fire plugs or anything going on that would cause some of this?
I haven't been told of anything.
Well, down there at the park where they're filling up down there too by the river, it's all,
All wet.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Has anybody contacted Joy about it?
No, they're the ones
They
that.
have to have a meter, it's gotta be
Apparently,
metered.
they're the ones that selling the water.
Yeah,
Who's selling the water?
Apparently the city.
I think Joey,
Wouldn't Joy be in charge of that?
I believe that he would be the one that okayed it if it didn't happen, but I don't know. And Counselor, where I think you were explaining, I guess we're all on the same page. Where some of that's going on is at North Central and River. They're going into Dusty Beavers, or right there before you go into his property. They're filling up there.
Yeah, that's the park down there. Yeah, they're filling up there, they're filling up out at Stegman's, and they're filling up over here too.
Okay, that was my question. I got to thinking, you're talking about some areas that are not on North Central.
Because I went and talked to the you know, code enforcement, and he pulled a truck over because that's part of his job. And he looked and there's a truck with a 3,500 gallon tank on that's already made 10 loads that day. That's a
Where's it
lot of
going?
water.
Where's it going?
I don't know. Part of it's going down to the valley down there. I followed trucks down there. And that's when Mr. Proctor told me they was selling water to $10 for 5,000 gallons.
For what? Do we know?
No, to settle the dust. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're selling water and these people are on restriction. That's my problem.
I went down there and I saw they've got the water trucks and they're spreading the water on the dirt
Mhm.
Who's they and what dirt?
and beavers.
And then they
Truck
sit,
drivers.
and then the other trucks go down to Bonnell's.
Barnell's, Beavers, Racetrack.
Yeah, and see, why are we putting water on the racetrack? They've got, a well, plus all them water rights that they got from that house, they put them onto that well. So I just don't understand why the people in this town gotta suffer for it.
Mr. Mayor, Joey says that, the line broke at Palo Verde and they're on it. And he said, no, they're not selling water to the racetrack. They're selling it to Fisher Construction.
Fisher Construction. For what reason?
Okay, is this Fisher Construction working at the racetrack building the overflow pond? That's who's doing that.
Right.
So it's in my, never mind.
It's an oxymoron. You know, but the people in this town are still out water.
We can water 3 times a week,
So
early before 10 or
Well,
after.
you got that many trucks sucking water out of that, you know, and you can go buy 5,000 gallons for $10. At least Capitan, they're selling water too, but they're selling it for 13 cents a gallon. You know,
Yes,
since the city councilors are in charge of the city's property, real property and personal property, how come we didn't have a vote on this water thing.
Don't know who voted, or I don't know when it was, or when it started, or nothing else.
Speculation, that's what we've gotten into speculation. I'm glad this subject came up so that we can address it now. There's a lot of speculation, but my question was what?
The city councilors are in charge
yeah,
of all the city
okay.
property. We don't.
I think Joey has that is part of his job description, to be my guess, but that's speculation too. Because I think he can do that as head of that department. So, what we'll need to do is pursue it. We'll find out from Joey and he'll be able to tell us. And he's always here except tonight.
It just, I mean, I don't understand. We can sell water and the people are on restrictions. Just,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Yes, Mary.
I believe, and you would have to call Angela into the meeting to verify, but I believe Fisher Construction came in and paid the $850 deposit to purchase water, and that water is not sold for $10 for $5,000. It's sold on a commercial rate. So I'd have to get Angela in there and she could look up the actual billing and usage of that, and she could tell you what they're being billed.
Yes, Councilor Proctor.
Mary, this is Councilor Proctor. That money that's been
Yes.
paid in for this water that's been sold to Fisher Construction, does it go back into the water fund or does it go into?
Yes, sir. The water is a enterprise fund. So all monies and revenues are run by that enterprise fund, including expenditures. So there is no mixing of monies.
Now, by enterprise, that's, as I recall, is, it has to support itself,
That is correct.
not by any other source.
It must support itself by itself.
I wish we knew, did any of you determine where the construction is
The racetrack.
at the racetrack?
That's the ones that digging that pond out there.
Okay, then
Flood.
my question, Counselor, is why is the village not splitting that 50-50 with us then? They benefit from the
village
racetrack.
don't really give two rats, you know what, about us down here. That's why they're not gonna pay for anything we don't put their feet to the background.
But the racetrack benefits, not only us and the village, but the entire county. That's what some of
correct,
these
but
meetings,
Then we go back to the GRTs and we don't get nothing from them. You know,
yeah,
just like when they come in for the TID deal, you know, they wanted our GRTs and whoop and blow, we don't get GRTs. So everybody that wants to say we make all this money off the racetrack, we don't, not the feed store, not nobody.
yes, sir, and I hear that a lot. People think that, the racetrack is contributing like as much as Walmart maybe.
Yeah.
Too, and I try to tell them, I don't think we get anything that goes to the state of New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
So,
$50,000 a year.
So we're kind of into the guessing, so let's go ahead and, we'll see if we can't find out an answer to that, but
May I just follow up on one other thing, Mr. Mayor?
yes, sir.
I was reading, I had never seen this before. This thing on the. So it says that the expected date of the application submittal to the Air Quality Bureau is March 31. So we're April 14th, right? And if you have any comments about the construction or operation of this facility, you want your comment to be made part of the permit review process, you must submit your comment in writing to this address, permit programs manager, so forth, so on, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Other comments and questions may be submitted verbally at 5:05. So I don't think they've had the hearings on this yet. It may be there,
But
but
they're already cooking logs up.
I don't, once again, I don't know, but I'm just going by what I'm reading here.
They have been doing.
I know, that's what somebody just said.
Okay, just
The chief back there said.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
the auditor is only available till 6.
Okay,
All right, we're
I
good.
think she's trying to say, Mayor, get on with this.
We're good.
So I hear you. Okay, any more counselors' comments? Okay, we'll go right on down to new business. Item number 9, A is a status update on FY 2023 audit. And that will be our finance director, Mary Castaneda. Mary, tell us about this.
Per your request, the auditors are, should be at this meeting and they should go ahead and be available for questions.
Can you all hear me?
Now we can.
Perfect, not a problem. My name is AJ. I'm a partner with Car Riggs, who's overseeing the completion of the audit for the Ruidoso Downs. And yes, thank you very much for accommodating my schedule. As I said, I had a hard stop at 6, so I want to go ahead and entertain whatever questions you have. Obviously, as it goes through the process, the audit itself, per the New Mexico State audit rule, is confidential, so we can't talk about a whole lot of results and things like that as we go through it. But I want to answer whatever we possibly can that would be applicable to an open meeting.
Counselors?
May I
Counselor,
ask a question?
yes, John.
I think, Mr. Bowers, you and I had a conversation within the last 30 days about the status of the audit. Were you the gentleman that I spoke with? We were on Zoom.
I believe so. I believe so.
And I'm the attorney for the city.
Yes, sir.
So I had inquired as to when we might be able to expect completion. I think that was our biggest concern, as I was at that time in the legislative session trying to get some money appropriated. And because we didn't have an audit, there's a problem with doing that. So I guess my first question, just to cut to the chase, is when can we expect this audit to be done?
So I think we actually met, it was actually in February, just to put that out there. When we met in February, we talked about that we were going to probably have a few duplicative requests, and we're going to be requesting some additional information as it relates to completing the audit. We've sent a few different outstanding lists and different pieces. Met with Mary last week. We've been kind of sending some updates to get some additional information since, you know, that February, March timeframe. We met on Thursday last week to kind of go back over, because I know we've kind of assumed the audit as it related to the prior work, going through it, making sure we have that information. I wanted to hear Mary's concerns that related to duplicative requests on Thursday. We went back through everything that we'd received and followed up with that outstanding list this morning. So we removed a couple of items that we had, but it was, for the most part, that list is what we need to complete the audit, and Mary should have that today. We're asking for that by April 25th. That's Friday the 25th. At that point, we want to be able to say, from there, we're going to either be able to audit the information because we have it, or we don't have it, and we'll have to continue and just complete the audit without the information. So that's where we're at to try to get that pieces. So we also did send, I know Mary's out on Mondays. I know she's on this call. We did request a phone call probably tomorrow to kind of go over some capital asset items that we were working through, because that was the one part when we talked last week that we hadn't finalized our request list. We just wanted to get some clarifying information.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Counselor Baber.
When did you receive the audit to start on it?
I took it over in February of this year.
Is there an overall reason why this didn't happen in a timely fashion before you got it?
So as it relates to, I know Debbie and Gail had been out there working with Mary on those. I can't speak to the conversations that were had at that point, and where things were at those moments. But as it kind of transitioned through the process, I took it over in February of this year to work towards getting it completed and issued. That I don't have the information from prior to that, from prior conversations.
So the year before, when they had it, we're just trying to figure out what's going on, bud.
I 100% understand. I know there were, from my conversations that I had Now, this is not necessarily with Mary. So as I said, when I took it over in February to be able to get this done with our team, I wanted to just ensure that we got it completed and out the door. Prior to that, I know it had delays in getting started. I just don't know the reasons as it relates to where those were. Obviously, I know with the fires and everything going on down there, I knew there were delays at that point. Whether or not that contributed continually, I can't 100% say what the cause of all of that was in order to get going and getting that information. Obviously, we are still in need of information in order to get it completed.
So, jump in.
Wow, yeah.
So my understanding, when you talk about delays, my understanding is that our contract was originally with another firm. And that firm has been, assumed, or you've assumed their business, the two of y'all have joined arms or something. But we originally didn't contract with TRI, to do this. It was another, name of another company. Is that correct?
The original contract would have been with Kriegel Grace Shaw, which joined our firm in the beginning of 2023.
Okay.
And so all of those contracts became assumed with there. And so the contract that was done with Ruidoso Downs is done with CRI because they all would have been updated at that point.
So it was originally with Kriegel firm, though, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
With the Shaw and Lacewell. Or Shaw.
And did the combination of the two firms have any effect on the delay in getting this audit done?
I can't, ultimately, we have a quality control process that has to be adhered to. And so, of course, as new firms come into that, they have to adhere to the quality control standards and the quality control management of our firm. It was working through that process when I assumed those responsibilities to get it out. So up until that point, that's where, again, the delays in getting started with, they weren't necessarily firm related. I don't know exactly what those delays were. Again, I was not the one in communication at that point, and I didn't get an update today in order to discuss the delays in getting going.
No,
Council Proctor.
okay, all excuses taken off the table, and I know you just took it over in February. If you get all the information you need by the 25th of this month, when can we expect it to be in our hands?
We get everything. So we want to get that information by the 25th. Now, of course, that means we have to audit it. So if we have follow-up questions, okay. So if we have follow-up questions, which we always do, because it's just part of it, we go through that process. We are shooting to get that. We want to really get it issued in May. That's where we're at. We want to get it issued in May.
Okay, now this audit has held up a lot of capital gain issues. We've already lost one for some equipment that we dearly need. And this is why we're pushing so hard to get this in, but we want it to be correctly. And when it gets to us, that we know everything that's went on and why the delay was for so long. This is 22-23 fiscal year of an audit. And we're already behind on the 23-24. We're behind on the 24-25, fixing to come in to the 25-26. So we're 3 years behind right now. So we're not going to be able to get any money to buy anything until we get off this call up. That's not your problem right now. That's our problem. We need to get this one done.
I understand. Like I said, we've got an outstanding list. That's the information that we need. It's comprehensive to get that. We're asking for it by the 25th of this month. And we want to get that done. Obviously, from that point, we evaluate the items that we were provided. We follow up with any questions. We have our quality control finalization. We finalize our opinions of the findings. We have an exit conference. It goes to the state. We want to get all of that done and issued in May. So that's where we want to get it done as quickly as possible as well.
Council Proctor.
Mary, you still on the line?
Mary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's Council Proctor.
Yes, sir.
Is this gentleman going to have everything he needs by the 25th of this month?
I don't know what update he's given me. the last spreadsheet I had, he wanted me to basically redo all the revenues again. This will be the third time that they've asked for the information that I submitted to him. I do not know what the updated list looks like. I can tell you that I have submitted requests starting with Debbie when they were there in person. They went through all of our receipts, revenues. They went through everything while they were physically there, made copies, did their test work, did all of those things, and then they went back to their office. And then again in December, requested more revenues. And I can't, off the top of my head, think we pulled out all the boxes, sent all that information to them again. And now I have a new list on a spreadsheet. I don't know what's been updated as of today. I was not in the office, have not checked my email. But, you know, each one of those requests for each day probably takes 30 minutes to find, scan, undo, send over. I mean, so if there's 40 items, you're looking at, I mean, I had all hands on deck, and it was 3 solid days, 8 hours of scanning information. So I don't know what new information they want. He says it's because they have to check this side of it and that side of it. And I'm trying to cooperate. I discussed my frustration with them last week. It's not that I don't want to give them the information. It's all due to time and how far and how long this is taking. Again, I don't know what the new list is. I have complied. For the first 2 times they asked for all that information, I gave it to them. And we discussed that last week. So I'll wait. When I get into the office, I'll see the new list. And then it just depends on how quickly I can get my 2 employees and myself to scan and get all that other stuff sent back to them. I don't know what's on the list, so I'm working on it.
Sir, you gonna be able to get the list to her so she can get her job done, so you can get your job done?
That list was provided this morning. We know she was out, and that was because on Thursday, we did have the conversation about needing that information that we hadn't received. We wanted to be amenable because I know Mary has expressed that frustration, which I understand. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of things. It's different timings. So we wanted to be very sure that what we've looked at, that we have documented, that we've seen, and that we've received, that we didn't ask for any duplicate items any longer. We took maybe 2 items off of the list that we were able to find through that information. But the rest of it, we do not have. So I cannot speak to what Debbie or someone on site may have looked at that point. There is nothing in our file that shows those, but there are areas that were requested, but we have to look at before year end, after year end. There's a lot of different areas that we have to consider. And so that's the list that's been sent. So that's what we're requesting. We wanted to give, it's almost 2 weeks to be able to get that information, to be a comprehensive spot where we can then complete that.
Okay, so all that being said, do you feel right now that everything you've requested from our finance director, that you will have enough to move forward on this and get us the results back if everything goes?
So the list that was sent today, if all of that comes back and we have no additional questions on those, I would feel good about those areas. There will be questions because there's just pieces that have to come together, and those normally are pretty good. The one that we didn't go through is we do have questions on the fixed assets, but when we talked last Thursday, that was the one section that we had not addressed in full. And we wanted to go back and forth to determine that, but we wanted to pivot to ensure that we had a good comprehensive list to Mary. So when she gets in today and going back through all the information that had been provided. And so if we get those and we're able to touch base tomorrow on the fixed assets, I feel comfortable if we get that information, that we should be pretty close.
Thank you.
Counselor, so you'll know, Mary did not obviously put this on the agenda. The mayor put this on the agenda because I felt like that it needed discussion. I want to thank Councilor Baber for getting it started. That's exactly what we needed to do is it's not necessarily transparency, but we needed, the council, we needed to know,
We know more
What's going-
now
yeah.
than we did
yeah,
yesterday.
and that's the purpose, yes, sir.
Mary, he don't know a date. When was the first time that you sent the stuff in for audit, even if it was the other company?
Back in November. November of 24.
Mary, if you don't get what you think you need from him, would you please let me know?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor. can I
Yes,
ask-
Counselor.
I was just wondering why they needed a new company to help them with this audit. Did something happen?
One company bought out the other one.
Yeah, but
We're getting kind of involved, but
Okay.
maybe this would be good too, because so many people, including maybe me. But it's my understanding that, we don't just go pick a firm to do this. There is a list that the state provides and we select one. Is that correct? John or Mary?
Mary would know.
Mary, how do we get a particular firm? Because, I don't think we just go out and somewhere in the state of New Mexico. I think there is a list. The state, again, I've said this several times, counselors, the state controls a lot more. Well, Counselor Baber points that out pretty regularly, but so, Mary, can you answer that?
Yes, I have to use the state list court to find an auditor. Then when one auditor, we sign a contract.
Yeah.
It was for 4 years. I think they changed it back to 3 years now. So I find an audit firm and I request, because it's less than $60,000, I send out written quotes asking for a quote from an audit firm that is listed on the state auditor's list to do our audit. And then per the quotes that come back responsive, I go through those quotes and the best offer for the best services is chosen. It's brought before council. Council approves the audit firm. And then at that point in time, we are sent in a 4-year contract. I believe that Kriegel, Gray, and Shaw was a 4-year, or maybe it was a 3-year, and now they're 4-year. I know I've probably got those mixed up, but so we started out, we had 1 year with Kriegel, Gray, and Shaw, and when you get a new auditor, you have to start all over. And honestly, that's part of the issue right now is we've had turnover in my department and in the audit department as well. And in between all that, Kriegel, Gray, and Shaw merged with CRI. And so the dynamic of the way they were doing the audit changed to the new way that they had to do the audit through the new firm. And so the new firm it's like starting brand new all over again. So when you have a new auditor come in, they have to start basically from square one. Even though a lot of the legwork has been done, they are legally liable to do the audit work. They have to prove in their system and through their auditors that the legwork was done, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and they can prove balances. I don't know any auditor that would come in and say, oh yeah, I just take your word for it. Your work is great. And then you're done. It doesn't work that way. It's their name on the line. They have protocols they have to follow. So basically you start all over again. And I think that's where I'm frustrated is because I understand that. But it's very time consuming to redo an audit like 3 different times over a period of time, and dealing with different requests and the way they want the information is also very time consuming. But back to your main question, you are correct. We must go down the state auditor's list, and we must choose a firm, and we must be, I send out quotes to multiple ones to see who can do that. A service for us, which I will be doing soon as the 23 audit is finished. I can't even ask for any audit services for 24 until 23 is completed. And I've already been on the phone with the state auditor, and so I know what I need to do there. But you're absolutely right. I can't just pick somebody and say, yes, will you just come to our audit?
Mayor,
Thank you.
I want to have one more question, please. On the contract, is there not a deadline for them to finish this? Audit?
Yes, there is.
And how far are we past that?
That audit was due December of 23,
Okay,
and they were there in November of 23. Yeah, because 24 should have been done in December of 24 this year. So that's correct.
I mean, it looks to me like they needed help.
They did. Kriegel Granshaw lost a lot of employees as well. And so they were short-staffed. I don't think the new company is short-staffed. But again, that's neither here nor there.
Mary? Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes,
This is Counselor Proctor.
Will the company that merged with, this gentleman we're speaking with, does that company assume the contract of that, what they've signed up for the 3 years? Will they finish the last year?
no, sir. We have to go out
Okay,
because I was told that they are no longer going to do audits, and I would just go out anyway. I'm just going to search for a new audit firm because
okay. You
it's
answered
starting
my
all over
question, and
again.
that's what I wanted to hear. You're going to find a new one.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Lakeswell.
We're over time with Mr. Bowers. Can
That's what I
he
said.
go?
I'm gonna have to take off. I just didn't want to interject. I appreciate y'all's time. If you have questions, reach out. I have no problem seeing what else I can do to help. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you for attending.
Thank you, AJ.
All right, thanks, Mary. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, so he's off. Okay, so if our citizens that are here and the counselors and the mayor, if you are sufficiently frustrated, I started to say confused. If you're sufficiently frustrated with the way government works, we'll move on to the next item on it, but that's government. And that's the way it is, yes.
Mary, are you still there?
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah.
So didn't you just recently enter into a contract with Scott Northam to be our next auditor?
Okay, repeat that. I'm sorry.
Didn't we just enter into a new contract with Scott Northam to do the next audit?
No, we did not enter into any contract. I have to get approval through the state. I've had a conversation with Mr. Northam, but no contract has been signed and nothing can be done until this audit is finished.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right,
And the state audit
need
is gonna help.
I may need to put something in here so that we may need to be cautious because, and Mary, this would be for you.
Yes, sir.
For some reason, I'm under the impression and heard something somewhere that it's getting real difficult to get an auditor, particularly this late in the game.
Yes, sir. And the state auditor's office, when I spoke with them, are going to assist me with getting a firm that can be readily available to get on our 24 audit and hopefully get the contract signed for 3 years or 4 years, whichever way it's in the law at this time.
Well,
So that I don't have to
Mary, do a lot of these firms get taken already by other municipalities?
Yes, they're already, so currently there's a shortage in the state of New Mexico for auditors,
That's
period.
That's the
And
term I
then,
wanted to hear.
Yes, sir. And then in addition to that, the auditors that are available, they have to be accepted through the state, which is a far more stringent protocol. And so with that being said, there's even less. So there is a shortage in the state of New Mexico for auditors that have qualified through the state auditor's office, period. Which is why the state auditor is going to assist me in finding an auditor that can get the job done in for the next 3 years or 4 years, whichever way the contract is sitting.
Okay, counselors?
It is what it is.
Okay, it is what it is. Okay, well, I think we did some good here. Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is B under new business. And that is a review of per diem and the travel policy. So Mary, are you still there to get us started on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe this was brought up and put on the agenda to go over the process of travel, and in relation to the counselors, there's been a lot of back and forth. Through my deep investigation, I think, because I really get into studying the law and the state statutes and reaching out to state auditors and so forth and getting information on the counselors' travel and who can approve them. First of all, they can't approve their own travel. And I'm saying that as an individual counselor. We can allow the counselors to bring their travel paperwork before on a council Open Meetings Act and get permission to go to a training, you know, that way. And then it's been pre-approved through council. And then I would just do the financial side of it. But there has to be checks and balances. And it doesn't matter who's in charge of what, when, and where. We just don't have, it just can't be where somebody says, oh, I'm going to go to this training, you know, by the way, you need to reimburse me for my cost expenses and approve it. There has to be checks and balances. So the checks and balances for the counselors will be when they have an event they want to go to, whether it's a training or an event. It needs to be put on the agenda prior to the travel time. It needs to be approved through the council by a majority. And at that point in time, the travel paperwork will be processed.
It'll be after the city council approves that, Mary?
Yes, because, you know, when you go to training and travel, and I'm sure all of you are aware, it really must be related to your job as a counselor. So, I mean, the city isn't going to pay for me to go to school and become a teacher. So it really should be related.
Come in and said they wanted to go to Disneyland either, Mary.
No, but I'm just putting it out there. It should be job related in association with your council duties. So with that being said, if you guys approve the travel and the training, then that's your approval, not mine. And then I will process the request accordingly. And then it's being approved by their peers or the same, and it will be just fine processed that way.
So,
Okay.
Mary, the state statute that you sent us, 10.8.1 through 10.8.4, clearly states that the city council is responsible for authorizing all the travel in Ruidoso Downs. And the law requires that submitted in writing to the council approval. And it seems to me that the way it's set up now, where the department of revenue approves the employee's travel request, needs to go to final approval before the travel occurs. And to ensure that we may need to revise the travel forms to reflect the stock. But the same statute is silent on whether the city councilors need approval for their own travel or who would approve it. And the city council has budgeted funds for legislative travel and training, and this can be attributed as implied approval. So until our city council adopts a formal policy, travel form for official city travel for elected officials, I propose that the councilors continue to self-authorize their travel, consistent with the practices of the mayor and the municipal judge. There's nobody above the city council who can approve our travel, except ourselves. And customarily, any event sponsored by the municipalities is something that city councilors can go to. And so that, I don't see anything that a counselor would attend, like becoming a teacher. The council wouldn't do that. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our citizens, and we just wouldn't do that.
Again, you do need approval, and if you don't want to be approved by the mayor, which is fine, you can bring it before the council, and the council as a whole will approve the travel.
That's what I just said.
Okay.
And it doesn't have anything to do with the employees, because the employees are supervised with directors, and the administrator over the employees is the mayor.
It has
So
everything,
you are wrong in that aspect.
excuse me, Mary, it has everything to do with state statute. And the state statute you sent us regarding to this discussion we're having right now clearly says that the governing body has to approve all of the travel.
Are you talking about subsection K?
Yeah. I don't have it open in front of me.
Well, as I read it, it says, with prior written approval of the secretary or the secretary designee, which is Mary. Okay? Or,
That's not true.
hang on, just let me finish, will you please?
Counselor.
Or the secretary designee or the local public body. So there's an or there. That's right. So it's a public body. Y'all acting as a public body has to be on the agenda. A non-salaried public officer or state agency or local public body, the salaried public officer, which y'all are, or state agency or local public body, or salaried employee of a state agency or local public body is entitled to per diem expenses. So I believe what Mary is saying is that the, y'all set your legislative travel amounts, but the travel itself has to be approved by the secretary's designee or by the public body. And if y'all want to bring it in front of the public body to have that approved, that's just fine. But what she's saying is that you can't just automatically approve your own travel without having a body approve that travel.
So what the statute says is the Secretary of Finance.
Which section are you on?
I'm not even looking at a section. I've been looking at this all day.
Okay.
The Secretary of Finance is a state office. It's not Mary.
Right, but how does that relate to us here? So the Secretary of Finance for us is our fiscal agent, Mary. Okay, so in each agency, you have to have a state agent, like the DFA. Okay, so Mary is our local finance person, and so she is the designee of being in control of it.
No, she just said it's just got to come on the agenda and we can approve it.
Right, there are two ways of doing it. That's what I'm trying to say. Is either get it approved through Mary, or we have an ordinance that says the mayor has to approve, but we're willing to say, okay, let's not fight about that. So if you want to have the public body approve travel, I think it's just fine. It says that the public body can approve travel, but the public body has to approve it. It has to be on an agenda.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
There's also nothing in here that specifically addresses who approves the governing body.
Well, it's right here.
Well, right, we are the governing body. We approve travel. which
So you
means we
bring,
approve ourselves.
right. So you bring your, Counselor Lacewell will file her application for travel. It will be put on the agenda and it'll be approved by the public body.
That's not specifically addressed here.
It
And
is.
so the implication,
Subsection K addresses that.
I'm looking at
But
subsection.
that's my opinion and that's where we are.
Right, and so the local public body.
What do
is
you
the only
consider
person-
yourself, Counselor? Are you a salaried public officer?
I'm an elected official.
Okay, so if you want to travel as an elected official, you're saying you have the right to travel wherever you want to, whenever you want to, and you can approve it.
Of course not. It only makes sense that we are only going to things that would traditionally.
Right,
And
but what I'm
consistently-
saying is that without some sort of a check and balance, Counselor Lacewell, such as this public body,
Right,
you can't just go wherever you want and then approve it yourself.
right. So up until this minute, there's never been a system. Because as this city council, this governing body, has not done a form like this. We've
Well,
not talked about
well,
it before.
Well, in the past, it's been something that was approved by the mayor or by Mary, right?
But
So what we're trying to do is expand that for your request to the public body.
so councilors, we need to have a meeting and work on this.
You guys got something to say?
If you say you got something,
Hey.
spit it up,
Hey,
cause y'all do this every time, man. You stand back there and you throw your arms up there. We're just trying to discuss this stuff. We don't need y'all up here, please.
okay, so we have an opinion by our attorney. And I have a tendency to think most of the time that's gonna trump people that don't have the experience in law. But of course, we can take this approach to it. If that will solve the problem, I'm willing to go with it.
Mr. Mayor, I think that based upon what Mary has said and what Councilor Lacewell has said, it's a matter that can come before the public body. And all I was saying is she says it doesn't address how elected officials are to be reimbursed. I believe that it does, but I don't think that she wants to approve her own travel requests. And I think the proper thing to do so that you don't run into any conflict of interest would to bring it to the public body for approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it already reached that way.
Right.
Okay.
Well, but you need to be careful, Counselor, because you said we, the counselors, need to get together and decide this.
Discuss it.
There, yeah, you have to be careful. The public, a lot of our public is very sensitive right now to what's known as a rolling quarrel.
I'm not talking about outside of a public
You
meeting.
didn't express that.
There's no other way to meet except with in a public
Legally.
meeting.
But my question is, have you met or do you meet when you're not meeting?
Mr. Mayor, let me back off.
Yeah, well,
It's not on the agenda.
yeah.
Okay.
I think we'd be better off not to hear the answer on that. Let's go. Let's,
I'd be happy
Mary?
to answer.
no, we're going
Yeah,
to,
me
we're
too.
going to, we're going to go on.
They're forgetting one item though, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
You have to let the city clerk know when you want to go to one of these events so she can make the reservations and all that stuff at
Yes,
that
sir.
time. That might take 30 to 45 days to get that done. So we have to reach out in time to do that before we bring it to the council.
It doesn't take that long to make a reservation.
No,
Well, I'm just saying,
Oh.
reservation last time we had was like 30 days out. So
Council Proctor, what can happen, I don't think you'll ever get where you're saying, well, it got turned in too late, so you can't go. You'll always be able to go. But you may not be able to stay at the La Fonda because all these other municipalities have taken the better places to stay if you don't get there early. That's the only penalty that, if you consider that a penalty, that could happen is you don't get to stay in one of the places that you would like to. Anything else, Counselor?
I haven't gone anywhere in years, so.
Okay,
I don't know.
yeah, that's true. Okay, where are we here? Let's, Mary, anything else, counselors on the travel policy? I think we,
No, sir.
yes, sir, Counselor.
yeah, on this one sheet in the very back, Mary, I do believe. Y'all got me so damn confused, I can't even find what I'm looking for now. I ain't gonna travel. Okay, State of New Mexico itemized scheduled travel expenses. Is this something you have to fill out or is this something we have to fill out?
So currently we have other travel sheets that we are currently using. I believe we put that in there to see if that is something you would rather do as an option.
No,
Okay.
I'm saying no. I don't know what anybody else says.
No, I agree with you.
Huh?
I agree with you. Mary, I have a question. On page number 2 in that packet of 12 pages, the state of Mexico per diem rate that's published on paper 21.
Yes,
Same page there. So the last section there, there's per diem for overnight, meal rates, and the last section there is for partial day, return of travel, or same day. So if a partial day or return from travel is less than 2 hours, there's no allowances. But if it's a 2-hour to 6-hour trip, in 2021, there was a $12 allowance, in 2022, an $18 allowance. And do you have the chart 2024, 25? Or is it still?
yes,
Is that
it's $20.
So
The new one just came out, but I can't remember what it is now.
so let's,
Sorry, it just came out last week.
just for a starting point, let's say it's $20. So if I'm doing a partial day, or let's say returning from travel, and it takes me more than 2 hours, but less than 6, that would allow a $20 allowance for a meal?
So first of all, if you're doing a partial day travel, if you read the state law, you must be out more than 11 hours, which is 2 hours more than a regular work day. So let's clarify that. And then in our personnel policy, it specifically says that if you're coming back after staying at a hotel and you're traveling, let's say your class is over at noon and you're coming back, it specifically says you do not get reimbursed on your last day of travel home in our personnel policy. So the state law allows us to be stricter than they are on per diem. We cannot be looser than they are, but we can be stricter. And our personnel policy does stipulate that there is no partial day payment on a return from a hotel night during that day. Now, I can't say that if you were in a class on a partial, now it's the key is partial day, not full day. If you were on a full day training and you were out more than 11 hours from start to finish, then you would be eligible for that $20 flat rate.
So from start to finish, you mean in a 24-hour day, or like 3 days is 36?
Not returning from overnight stay, but if you had a 1-day training in Las Cruces and you left at 6 a.m. in the morning and you got back at 6 p.m. at night, that's a 12-hour trip. So you would be eligible for $20.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on this, councilors? Okay, let's move to item C
Oh, that's for 20 bucks.
under new business, which is special security contract between the city of Ruidoso Downs and Ruidoso Downs Racetrack and Casino. And to address that, Deputy Police Chief. Sam Hannon.
Mayor, council members, thank you for entertaining this. So what I've learned is this is an ongoing contract year by year with the racetrack. What it does is it allows our off-duty officers to earn a little extra pay doing security for events at the track. As you know, the track has several events going on starting in May. This will give the officers opportunity to work security at the concerts, the barbecue, All-American barbecue, and there's some other things coming up. Pretty much to supplement their staff. The officer would be in uniform, have full arrest powers, and handle business as they need to. The $50 an hour would be paid to them, wouldn't come out of our budget. There is some questions as far as staffing. This will be offered to officers that are off duty. It's not going to take from the officers that are on the streets or handling calls for service. It'll be for those guys that are specifically off duty if they want to come in on their day off. Just like we do with the Lincoln County DWI program. They want to come in on their days off or after their shift, that would be fine. And we'd ask that you entertain this and give us a positive vote for it.
Council Proctor.
We got 3 certified police officers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We can't even patrol our city with 3 certified police officers. We can barely fill a 24-hour day if you guys don't take any days off.
Yes, sir.
So I can understand where you're coming from. I think this is a bad time of the year for us to try to do something like this. Because the citizens are going, I can't see it. I can't understand it. 3 people, to include yourself, the chief and one other certified officer that works nights, that would go in. Now, your schedule, well, we don't know what it is, which way you're going with it. I do know you and the chief both off on the same days. Okay, the world that I come from, your supervisor and assistant supervisor never take the same days off. So that being said, when would you actually be able to go to the racetrack and pull this in? I mean,
So again,
I'll tell you right now that this doesn't, if we had a full force, 8 cops, it'd be a different story. Three certified police officers, and we got an FTO, 2 guys before they start going to the academy.
correct. Like I said, it would be on our days off. It would be if Officer Wall wants to work after his shift or on his days off, whenever the events are scheduled for. This would be for that. Another thing I forgot to mention, this is going to be a hook for recruiting. Right now, depending on what happens with the county in the next few months, they're looking at a 30% raise across the board for their officers. That would affect the
So
certified.
everybody's gonna be jumping again.
And in order to curb that, this would be a perfect recruiting tool.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, I've been to the sheriff's department, and I've been talking to some of the people over there. That 30% is not just like that. It's gonna be spread out over a 3-year period.
Right.
So they're not gonna get a 30% on, say, $40 an hour that they're making now for a sergeant. That's gonna be buffered. They're gonna spread it out over a 3-year period.
And unfortunately, in that 3-year period, our 2 uncertified guys in 3 years could be looking to go to another higher paying agency. And that's one thing that I want to, if not curb, stop. If we're gonna certify these guys, I want them to stay here.
I understand that, and that we can't make a police officer sign a contract, and we can't send him to a school and then ask them to, or agree to a statement saying they gotta give us 4 years or 3 years, when the school cost us nothing. So all that being said, I recommend we postpone this till later on in the year to find out where we're at, because unless we get certified off.
Counselor Lacewell,
Thank you, sir. So right now, do we have any officers working nights? I thought we only had day guys.
Officer Wall will start with Officer Pendergrass, matter of fact, Wednesday evening.
That'll be the first nighttime.
That'll be the first one now that we've got Officer Pendergrass through his initial training, his psych eval and everything is back. We have approval to put him on the streets.
And we can't force you guys to work 24/7. So you have to have time off.
Sure.
And what you're telling us is this would only be available to guys on their time off. You
That's
would
correct.
Never use an officer who's on duty.
Yep.
Send them down there. We're not, okay.
No. And in one of the forms that's in the packet, it's, the chief's gonna have the final say. And it's going to be, it's not gonna be a case by case event. It's gonna be a blanket event at the beginning. But as those officers come in and say and ask, hey, can we go work this? The chief and I are going to review everything and be in agreement of, yeah, we can do this weekend, or no, you know what, he's already worked 20 hours of overtime already in his normal shift. I don't want any officers falling asleep and getting injured, or worse, getting overcome by a fight or something at that racetrack because they're tired.
Okay.
That's just not gonna happen.
So even if we sign
Counsel-
this form, sorry, Mr.
Counselor Proctor.
Okay, my second question on this is, an officer gets down there and he gets hurt working for those people. I see in here they got insurance. That's insurance to fix him at the hospital. You're not working for the city when you're down there, so that eliminates you from workers' comp.
That I would ask Mr. Underwood.
I believe Councilor Proctor is correct.
Code, I'm
You're not
paid
on,
that-
you're not on a city, project,
Right.
even though it's approved. There's a hold harmless agreement in it, but I don't know, the question in my mind is, since the track is paying, track will pay workers' comp. But if their time is lost here because of an injury, It's an interesting prospect. I haven't run across that.
My next question is, if you're down there and you're by yourself, or there's two of you down there, who you gonna call for backup?
That would be either the sheriff's office, state police, or the on-duty officers here in the city.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Then he's gotta leave the city to go down there and take care of this. Now,
I expect the officers to back up any officer asking.
I understand that. I completely understand. I understand that. That's with a full police force. We've got three of you.
Right.
I'm gonna keep saying that. Now then, when that traffic lets out, they're gonna ask for people to help direct traffic. It's gonna be hard enough for you guys to direct traffic on race days that you're off, but you still have to help direct traffic. So you're gonna have your hands full there. And that's gonna be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know the race days yet because Mr. Ball hasn't released those, or I haven't heard about them. So that being said, that leaves us standing in the swamps, worried about draining the alligators when the snakes are eating us up. So,
And
Mr. Mayor, members of council, may I speak?
All right, hold on just one second. You'll be next. Counselor Baber.
If this is just for off duty and everything, and they're gonna pay your insurance or here, John, which way is that gonna go?
Well, if they're hurt while they're working down there, the Rios Downs insurance will pay for that. For that, the question was, does workman's comp and a rodeo comp?
Okay, Mary, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, every year that this contract comes up, I ask the same question. Why is the city paying their salaries? And why is the track not paying them directly as individuals and 1099ing them? Then the liability is not the city of Rio Downs, it becomes the racetracks. They are responsible for their workers' comp, they are responsible for paying them. Why is the city going to pay them $50 an hour to work on their off time when they're not on the city schedule? Why? Because the second they turn in hours to be paid, it becomes our liability. So I do not understand why the city has to pay their salaries based on the $50 an hour when the racetracks pay them directly, keep us out of it, and they truly are working on their own time, not the city's time, their time.
All right, Mary, we've got a disagreement here. Deputy Chief, you want to respond to that?
on section number 2, I believe it's the same section in the agenda packet. I apologize, the chief has that's our agenda packet. Section number 2 is the required number of officers to say contract will be determined by the police chief or his designee. The requesting entity, which is the racetrack, will be charged $50 per hour. Like I explained, it does not come out of our overtime budget. It does not come out of our operating budget. This is.
They're just paying you.
Straight up.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I will tell you, that's what he's telling you, but that's not what happens. Donna has to go in and change their rate at $50 an hour, and they are paid directly from the city.
Because the contract's with the city, correct?
Yes, the city is going to pay those officers $50 an hour. Then they're going to bill the racetrack, and the racetrack is going to reimburse us for those payments. But it doesn't cover the taxes or the insurance costs if they were injured. Because even though they say they're off duty, the city is paying those hours, which makes them on duty.
Okay, so besides the money, what's the problem? With the taxes? If they've been doing it every year.
Why? It's completely wrong. My question is, why doesn't the racetrack pay the officers directly? Why do we have to get involved with it at all, other than we agree that our officers on their downtime can be over there and work for the racetrack? Why does the city have to pay?
Councilor Lacewell, something on this subject?
Yeah, Mary, I think that's a great idea. So the agreement needs to be between the individual police officer and the racetrack. and get the city out of it completely.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
But if he goes to work there wearing that city uniform as a police officer,
Oh.
Okay, well, let's back up to they gotta go down there and direct traffic. Who's paying them for that?
we are.
Why are we going down there
That
directing traffic?
Because it'd be a traffic jam if it wasn't. We've done it for years.
I
No, I'm telling
Done a
you,
lot of things for years, but it don't make it right.
I'm not saying it does. But it was done like, it's been done like that.
And every year I bring this
Hang on just.
I bring this up every single year.
Us taking that over and doing the traffic down there, we had back to back to back accidents constantly. That's why we started to help out down there.
Yes, they also used to pay y'all up front too.
Well,
Y'all figured up the hours and then the track paid X amount of dollars,
Nope.
yes?
it wasn't to the fire
Traffic
department.
control, not for traffic.
Not for traffic control, no, sir.
Highway, it's our police job.
That's
That
how,
highway is their job. And we did it as volunteers also for many years.
and it,
That's just the courtesy of keeping our traffic going that the
Can I make
police
a
do.
suggestion? Maybe we let him go back and renegotiate? And see if you can get it where they'll pay the taxes, so we're not out the tax.
And hearing, what Ms. Castaneda has to say, I completely agree. If it will alleviate some issues, especially legal issues for us, that would be something I think Mr. Scott and I can sit down and figure it out. Cause yeah, as far as wearing a uniform when you're off duty, there's some issues with that. I'm gonna review some state statute and some case law to ensure that we don't cross those lines. I don't think we will.
I mean, Redosa and Redosa Downs has always done it. That's why I was just asking.
But, go ahead, Jim.
Well, the only time I broke traffic down there was those Labor Day days.
Right,
That's it.
right.
Not on just a regular race day.
Right.
That traffic can get in and out there on their own.
But do they kick in for y'all to come down there for that? Cause they used to.
special events.
But it's the only time I've ever.
The racetrack does not.
It was, Labor Day weekend,
Ms. Castaneda,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
you may have a clearer answer. Would it be better to go through our off-duty employment policy and use those forms?
Okay, I'm still, if you're wearing a uniform and the city is paying you, you're still on the clock and being paid for the city, regardless of on duty or off duty.
You use the city policy pertaining to outside employment.
Yes, but outside employment pays you individually and not the city. The city doesn't pay for your outside employment. That's the difference.
On your off-duty hours as security, for Rios Down racetrack.
Mayor,
Since that policy is there, that would be a good.
This shouldn't be a problem.
Counselor Proctor.
okay, I seen you turn around asking the former chief of police here at Red Oaks Downs some questions and stuff. Do they not have their own security department down there anymore? Okay, excuse me, now then, my question is, I worked down at the racetrack for quite a few years as security manager, and I had the same authority given to me by the State of New Mexico Racing Commission, as does the sheriff in the county of Lincoln. I had the same authority on the racetrack. The only thing I could not do, I could arrest, detain, hold, I could not transport. That's the only thing I couldn't do. And that should be the same thing that's going down there now.
Never heard of that, ever.
Okay, that check with Sheriff Wood and see, and he might educate you on that.
On the track itself, that doesn't apply, and these are events that are not on the track itself.
So, clarify that for me. I thought this was all for, the officers being at the track and acting as,
On site, on property, not on the track itself.
well, but at the site being leased or owned by Rios Downs Racing.
Right.
Right.
On property, yes.
Right, okay. So that's where your security team is, right?
The difference, different areas of gaming supervision and racing supervision.
Right.
They don't intermix.
I understand that. So where would you be using our office?
Special events, we have a Pat Green concert, we have concerts, scheduled throughout. a year. I believe there's 6 all told. And it would be for those events.
So like, when you've got a bunch of people coming to the track for a special event, and we're not talking about traffic control, we're talking about, issues with a lot of people, at an event.
At the venue, yes, sir.
Right. Is that something that, and I know we're catching you off guard, but is that something that the track would be willing to look at as far as hiring these individuals as their own security?
The issues I foresee with that would be them affording the bond. I don't know if that's something that would be,
So does that require a different sort of bond, even if they're licensed?
if they're forming their own company, they're gonna have to be bonded, yes, sir.
So the companies that you currently have there could not assume these individuals.
That would be between them and the other company.
Okay. And is that company owned or operated by Rio Downs Racing?
No, sir. We utilize several companies, some from.
So they're independent
They're
contractors.
independent contractors, yes, sir.
Well, I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Counselor Baber.
I don't know if everybody's unaware of how hard it is to keep officers here. But anything we can help them make a little extra dough, I don't think there's a problem with it. But that's just me. I just, I mean, how long can we go without police officers? And now we've got 3, and I'm just saying, we can't kick up no more money. We ought to at least let them do something like that, because there again, they've done it for years. I guarantee that man in the black hat back there done the same thing.
Yeah, I see him shaking his head. Yeah, I did, but you had a full police force, correct? Okay, there's the answer right there.
Always.
You always had a full police corps.
All right, but he said there's nobody's gonna shirk their hours or nothing. It's just on their time off, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping by then we'll have a full
Right,
staff
right.
by August.
That's what I was wondering.
But Chief, you've got right now you got 2 cadets. They'll go to school in January. It won't be out until when? End of November, 1st of December?
18 weeks.
18 weeks. Then race season will be over with. So who's gonna help you?
If they go in July, it's August.
August, September, racing season's gonna be over with. It's gonna be gone.
Right.
And I'm still on the board with, if they've got that uniform on right there, it says Rio Downs Police Officer, one of them gets hurt and he can't come to work here, we lose him, then he doesn't get workers' comp. And I learned that the hard way from being down at that racetrack.
Right.
And I got my tail chewed out 7 or 8 different times by the labor board over in Alamogordo. It don't work that way, and they can't claim it for the city because he didn't get hurt on the city's time.
Counselor Laceland.
So I have a question for. So there's only 6 special events, and let's say your day off doesn't fall on a special event, you wouldn't get to do it anyway.
No.
It's only for the officers who are on their own time off. But if they're in our uniform, they're representing our city, right? So that
Like Counselor Proctor is pointing out, it presents a unique situation.
it does.
I'd like to insert it.
One way or the
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Clarify my mind on this workman's comp thing. Mary, you still there?
Yes, sir.
So I know we've approved this every year, but I know every year Mary makes her statements and they're always consistent as to why she opposed. But I was curious as to the fact that what you're telling me is that Donna has to handle all the payroll for this particular project.
That's correct. That's correct.
So if that's the case, then if they're still coming from our payroll, would that not still be considered something that was authorized by the city of Rio Downs, and therefore our workers' comp would be responsible?
Yep, you're correct.
That's what I was hearing, is that because the payroll is coming from us, they're really on our payroll. And what this is a cooperative agreement whereby we agree to let them go down to Ritos Downs for those special events and work, we basically get paid $50 an hour from Ritos Downs to pay them. Is that correct, Mary?
Yes.
So, and they've always done that, right? I mean, they've always met their financial obligation to us.
Except for the.
Yeah, there's never been a, there's never,
So,
it's not just taxes, it's flexibility and everything.
Okay, a couple of things on this that I'm hearing. If there's any way we can work this to be a win-win situation, we need good rapport with the racetrack. They're part of this community. We work with them and at various times. I'd like to keep it that way if we possibly can. Something Councilor Baber brought up, particularly with the beginning officers. They don't make a lot of money. Policemen are like teachers used to be when I first started. They don't make a lot. And this would be kind of an incentive to fill these vacancies that we've got now. We've got something to offer, and money makes a difference, particularly to younger families. I really think that this would be something good to offer. Probably what will happen if we don't, they'll go to Ritos or maybe the sheriff's department or somewhere else, and somebody else's police officers are going to be making the money instead of ours. So if we can get a win-win situation where we're in good shape and the track is too, may take a little work, but it's going to be worth the effort. We don't want hard feelings with the track. They've been very good to us at times, and we've been very good to them at times. Yes, sir.
John, can you rig up something in your wizardry?
I think that I can. I was just gonna suggest that, if we postpone it to the next meeting, we'd like to have Donna's input on this, because she's the one that's handling it.
Donna Miller?
Uh-huh, because she's evidently the one that's writing the checks, and if we're paying taxes on those checks, there needs to be some consideration. I don't know what it's costing us to do that. So.
Would that be a separate check
I don't
from
know.
the payroll check?
I don't know how that's.
All right, would this work for us? And let me know if we would, hey, guys.
Postpone to the next meeting. So let's just try and come up with some answers of ways.
All right, and that's where I'm going with this. Do you guys think it would be something that would be good if we had John, our police department, and the racetrack, you guys sit down in a meeting and get this hammered out instead of us trying to settle it here with the council, bring something back to us or something that y'all were able to work out. And that way you'll be in the meeting, John, and can tell them, well, that sounds good, but here's a problem for the city.
And Donna can help me with that.
Yeah.
Hey, Mayor.
One more question and I'll shut up. What about my man over here? Does his people get to work too?
That would be a question for EMS and.
We've gone down and helped.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. We're gonna get y'all some extra money?
Oh, they do traffic control. They help with traffic
The
control.
volunteers have always helped.
Council,
Yeah, yeah.
A year or two that the track has donated X amount. of dollars.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say a while ago. That They figured how many men they would have down there and they put X amount of dollars and said, here.
Councilor Laceland,
I just heard chief, and apparently you're the only certified officer in the building who has already done this before. Been at the track on your own time.
I have,
And so can you explain to us how that works?
well, I can tell you, in my past, jobs, I always, signed, paperwork to get a 1099 at the end of the year, and I paid my own taxes.
Did it work that way with the racetrack?
I don't know if we can, maybe.
well, let's have that meeting, and that's one of the things you can bring up.
If we get that done.
You misunderstood.
Yeah, Councilor Proctor's got the floor, guys.
Okay, I want everybody to understand my position on this. I'm not against it. What I am against is 3 officers that can't even patrol our city full-time now. And on the days off, if they want to make extra money, pay them overtime. We don't have a full force yet.
No, we don't.
When the former chief had it, he had a full crew, okay? You didn't have to worry about whether your streets were being patrolled. You didn't have to worry about that. We got 3 of you guys. And if you put in the hours that you're supposed to be, that you're putting in, when it comes time to be off, you're ready to be off. That's what I'm getting at. Anywhere on that racetrack, when I say racetrack, I'm talking about the property line to property line, east to west, south to north. They're on the track. They're not on the racetrack that the horses are on, but they're on the track. The casino is a different area. I understand that. It's run by the Gaming Commission. Outside of the gaming, it belongs to the Racing Commission. So you got 2 entities.
Okay, the city clerk raised her hand. She would like to address the council.
We can either have a motion to postpone or a motion to vote.
I'll make a motion to postpone until
The next meeting.
John does
Well,
his
let's try to
wizardry
do-
and he does his, and then we can come back. How's that sound?
It's April 28th.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll second that.
Yeah, a motion and a second.
Counselor Latham? Aye. Counselor Baber?
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor Miller?
Aye.
Counselor Parker?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Takes care of city business for at least today. We are adjourned.